Hi, I'm Jeff Stevens from oregonplex. I help real estate investors buy and sell two, three, and four unit properties around Oregon. And I live here in Bend. I do a lot of business in Portland as well. And that's exactly what I built my own portfolio on. So it's the sole thing I focus on as an agent. And I like to do these market reports. Now, admittedly, I let a little too much time pass since the last time I created one of these, but I have some interesting new updates to share with you. So in Central Oregon, what I've chosen to do is I've chosen to separate the market into three categories. The west side of Bend, which has its own dynamics, the east side of Bend, which has its own dynamics, and then Redmond as well. So I'm going to give you the summary and some things that jumped off the page to me in each of these three categories. So let's start with the west side of Bend. Not a high level of high number of transactions here generally, right? This is the side of town that probably has fewer of these types of properties to begin with, and it's just not a high volume, right? So in terms of like statistical significance, it's not like we're looking at millions of transactions and coming down to averages. But I want to share this with you. The average price per unit of properties, two to four plexes on the west side right now, that's being asked because they're active, so it's not proven yet, but it's being asked is $412,500. So with an average days on market of 130. So that's kind of getting up there a little bit. I also see that in the last 180 days, I like to look at how many have been withdrawn or expired or canceled, because that to me sort of shows like, well, we tried and it didn't really work. And the answer is seven properties, which is much higher than it was the last time I ran these reports. So we see sellers trying to kind of go fishing and get what they might want to get, but not succeeding necessarily in that. And the average price per unit, though, of the ones that has sold is 422,000. So that's actually a hair more than the 412,000 that is the asking price, which is really, really kind of interesting. And those properties, though, were at a lower price per foot of 347, whereas the current asking is $433 per foot. And so it seems that these people who have priced their properties correctly at $347 a foot, as it turns out, were getting these sales sold pretty quickly, actually at 34 days. Like to me, that jumps off the page as wow. That's a really, really good amount of time to get the property sold. Let's move on and talk about the east side for a moment. There's more of these types of properties on the east side of Bend as a whole. Prices are always going to be a little bit lower on the east side. So the average price that's being asked on the east side right now is 371,000 and change per unit, or $358 per square foot. We have had nine properties come off the market through being canceled or expiring or being withdrawn. So again, those are the attempts to sell that didn't quite work out. But the things that are selling for around $314,000 per door and $300 on the nose per square foot. And those are getting closed in 111 days, which I think is maybe a little bit high, but probably a pretty reasonable time frame in today's market. So what gets it done on the east side of Bend? Pricing around $300 per foot and 111 days per market kind of gets things done. As we look at Redmond, Redmond has always um, it's got probably a similar number of transactions kind of overall to the east side of Bend, and often the prices are just a little bit more affordable. So the average price per unit in Redmond that's being asked right now is $325,000 per unit, which comes out to 324 bucks a square foot. These properties have been on the market for 72 days. Now, active properties on the market in March, we have to remember that a lot of times people pull properties off the market, during the holidays. So maybe they brought them back on like right after the start of the year. But $325,000 per unit is what's being asked right now. But what has actually been closing in the last 180 days? An average of $275,000 per unit. So $50,000 difference between the current asking price per unit and the sales price per unit that's actually worked. And those days on market is 24. That's super, super fast, which is very, very impressive. And these properties are being priced about $253 per foot. So we can see what's happening. We always know, and this is why I separate the three sub markets of West Side, East Side, and Redmond. But we can see that there are sellers who are definitely wanting to get it done, get their properties sold, and are bringing the properties on market at reasonable prices, and they're getting the result that they're looking for pretty in a reasonable time frame, not lightning speed, but in a reasonable time frame. Whereas we also have some sellers who are really kind of doing the fishing thing, and they're trying to see if they can get higher prices, and a lot of times it's proving that you know, price adjustments are going to be needed to get things done. So I'm Jeff from OregonPlex. If you have a Plex, if you want to buy a Plex, 2, 3, 4 units, I'd be happy to chat with you, strategize, brainstorm, figure out how to prepare the property best to get it sold, or how to prepare yourself best to do an acquisition or whatever it might be. So don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll see you in the next one of these reports.